Hey guys, it is Mike with Come the Night. Welcome back to another reaction video. Today we have to talk about something pretty fucking serious. On September 12th, the EU Parliament passed an amendment to some stupid fucking thing that they're trying to shove through their bureaucratic bullshit machine called Article 13 and Article 11. Basically, this whole law is supposed to be addressing copyright issues that are happening online right now. And Article 13 was by far the most toxic of all of these amendments. Some of you may have heard of this already, some of you possibly haven't. So yeah, we're gonna be diving pretty deep into this. I don't usually dive into politics on this channel. Today I'm going to have to do some of that because it is very pertinent to the situation. That, and also it needs to be done to demonstrate to you not only the impact that this is going to have on all of us, but me specifically in this channel. So let's begin with the video.
And supporters of this article argue this is supposed to protect traditional press revenues by forcing people to go to the actual site. You know, instead of someone linking something on Twitter or Facebook and you get to see the headline, a small little piece of it, and you go, I don't need to click that, I get the general idea.
Yeah, lawmakers claim a lot of things, and I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on, we can all pretty much agree on one thing. Politicians are fucking liars. They may not even realize how much of a liar they are because a lot of times they're also fucking stupid. I think it's an unrealistic expectation to expect every lawmaker to be a subject matter expert on everything, yet they have to make laws that significantly impact just about every facet of life. Still, using the phrasing lawmakers claim, which is not Philly D's fault, that's technically accurate, is basically saying the puppet told me, especially in this context with the EU.
And in addition to Article 11, the main focus, arguably one of the most contested articles in the EUCD, is Article 13.
Why am I learning right now? What's happening? This is too much information.
It's often referred to as the upload filter, and it would make most internet platforms that host large amounts of user-uploaded content directly liable for copyright infringements by their users.
There is an entire debate right now around whether platforms like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube are actually forums or publishers. If they're forums, they do next to no curating of what gets posted where. It's basically anyone can say anything about anything. Obviously, there can be reasonable exceptions like harassment being one, doxing being two, other things of that nature where it's like, okay, someone's life might be in danger outside of this stupid forum. But essentially, no points of view should be suppressed unless they are actually going to physically harm someone else. In the instance of actual Nazism or actual extreme radical Islam, you can see where there's a gray area there. But we don't need to touch on the favoritism of who they play towards and who they play against. But the EU said, fuck that debate. We're just gonna shit all over the entire internet and we don't have to even worry about this as a concept.
Before we keep going, here's some highlights from the video he just mentioned with some more info.
Okay.
Let's talk about Article 13, which is being called
let's
the
talk
upload
about
filter.
Article 13.
Here, internet platforms hosting large amounts of user-uploaded content must monitor user behavior and filter their contributions to identify and prevent copyright infringement. This is supposed to protect the music industry.
Wow, what a complete mischaracterization. Supposed to protect the music industry. What lens are you looking at this through, you fucking cocksucking bastards? The actual music industry is transforming right before your eyes, and the people who have told you that you're protecting the music industry are the ones that are going to be dying off while a new music industry goes and takes its place. A better one that actually is going to be more creative, more decentralized, and possibly make some of the stuff that may define a generation. If you really want to examine why music as an art is so degraded and so mundane, so regurgitated, look no further than the machine that is the old guard music industry. When you worry less about where your money is coming from and worry more about making stuff you love, that is the platform of the internet. But they don't care because want my fucking money, please, thank you.
Music industry
from running ads on videos containing
is the worst.
You're damn right, Matt Pat. Copyright is basically designed to keep the incumbent powers in power. It began as a privilege from the crown. I've already made several videos. I did an entire podcast on music and copyright, and I highly recommend you go and check those out, and also go and do your own research. TLDR version of this: small artists don't really benefit at all from copyright. What they really benefit from is the exposure over the pennies they would get from the royalties. Essentially, the music industry that is a part of this large-scale, big media conglomerate does not want to adapt to the new way of doing things, so they're going to ruin the internet for everyone because they're more important than us.
The industry believes and lobby that the revenue Google shares with them from running ads on videos containing their content amounts to too little compared to payments from subscription services like Spotify, calling this the value gap.
Yeah, that is correct. And it's actually a very nuanced problem. It's not something that can be addressed in a big sweeping piece of legislation that just says, fuck everyone except for the people that hold these copyrights.
The question becomes, okay, well, what does this actually look like? Well, in
Yes, what does it look
music
like?
Copyright holders can demand that once YouTube has a sample of their music, they must have a system to flag anything uploaded automatically, and that the copyrighted material is never re-uploaded. And YouTube already has a system that is
Yes,
similar to this, but they
yes,
want it to be
that's
bigger,
true.
faster. And YouTube already has a system that is similar to this, but they want it to be bigger, faster, more responsive, as well as automatically take those videos down.
That's insane.
Should people be ripping entire songs, entire movies, entire TV shows from one source that was paid for and distributing it en masse to everyone online? I mean, honestly, my heart says no, my brain actually says yes, but that's a debate for another time. That to me is some gray area. Most other people in the creative space would say, no, there needs to be a paywall and people need to be paid for. We're not going to have the value discussion right now, but we'll talk about it later. Either way, that one, in my eyes, at least up for debate. The other issue, in America, we have this thing called fair use. Fair use means I can use your intellectual property. Pardon me, almost puked when I said that word. I can use your intellectual property for educational, parody, critique, criticism, all of these purposes, and I am not infringing upon your rights. It actually is a part of freedom of speech. It is transformative in nature. Article 13 doesn't even pretend to address fair use. It's so fucking vague. If you're not familiar with what fair use is, go and check out and look into the H3H3 lawsuit. They break it down in more detail there. In a nutshell, the work that you appropriated has to be transformed into something more, into something different, significantly. It can't be a fucking, like, a lot of these reaction channels where they just sit there and they're listening to the song the whole way fucking through the entire song. Maybe they'll take 2 breaks in between and it's like, oh yeah, man, like, I really like this part because I like it. It's really got a good groove. And then listen to the rest of the song the whole way fucking through. That's not transformative. That is absolutely, like, you're violating copyright. But on top of that, you cannot infringe the original market that work was intended for.
EUCD is often vaguely worded, and there are fears that common aspects of internet culture may be affected unintentionally. For example, reaction GIFs would likely be classified as copyright infringement under the EUCD.
And this is where the internet dies. This is specifically the so-called meme ban or the death of memes or things of that matter. The people making these laws have no fucking clue how the internet works. The people who are in their ear making them do these things and greasing their wheels don't really have much of an idea either. The internet revolutionized information transfer. And the meme portion of this was originally an underground thing, but it started getting, if you will, the normies engaged. That's how these social media platforms blew up. If this article is not repealed, kiss Facebook and YouTube and Twitter goodbye, possibly even Instagram. These are the common casual user platforms, and these basically thrive on fucking memes. Instagram may be able to stick around. If you take this away from them, no one's gonna be using them anymore. Their ad revenue disappears. It's over. It's fucking over.
Because of the way the EUCD is written right now, it doesn't include exceptions for things like fair use. So there,
Oh my gosh, that is terrifying.
So there, parody and criticism content could be struck down if the copyright holder wanted it to be.
That literally means the end of my channel. As opposed to the channels that I was talking about before, where they basically sit there and have a fucking listen to party and then talk about how much they liked it and like, oh, I guess it kind of sounds like this. I do a parody, I make fun of it, I critique it, I meme it. I actually give a thoughtful analysis and critique from, you know, a musician's perspective, a songwriter's perspective, I'm gonna use the term producer very, very loosely, but from that type of perspective. I'm not a fucking normie who games views. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do game views. Trust me, I'm self-aware. But I don't game views just by sitting down knowing I'm going to get views and don't provide anything of value. This video in particular, I am providing additional value to it. I am transforming it. This is a commentary. Thankfully, the Fine brothers already learned that the internet was not fucking happy when they tried to do the whole React thing. So yeah, I'm safe on this video. But yeah, I could be screwed. I could really be fucking screwed. And you're saying, oh, but Mike, it's just in Europe. You live in America. Just wait, please.
Everything that game theory and film theory does is threatened by this stuff.
Fuck my channel. If they shut down MatPat and game theory, I'm leading the resistance right now. We are going to be armor clad in nothing but memes and wield weapons that only discharge your moms and know you. We will destroy them with the internet, my friends.
Additionally, amendments suggesting a full deletion of Article 13 will be proposed, but it's also currently believed that those probably wouldn't get majority support given the level of backing the reform is behind it.
Okay, let's talk about the support behind Article 13. Again, normally I would not dive into politics on this channel. As passionate as I am about some of it, I watch way too much stuff on politics. I try to not be divisive on my channel when it comes to this type of stuff. Hopefully this won't be very divisive, but it definitely will be political. What if I told you that the man who actually proposed this amendment, Article 13, didn't even know what the fuck was in it? After it passed, he was on camera cheering for it, and afterwards, a reporter asked him a question about the legislation that he proposed and was just passed, and about the ramifications of it, and he said, oh, I didn't know that was in there. I didn't fucking know that was there. You proposed it! Axel Voss. Take a look at the leader of the meme genocide. Take a really good long look at him. Axel Voss will, from here on out on this video, be known as Asshole Floss. So why did an MEP not know what was in the amendment that he proposed? Let's run through how the EU works. First of all, no MEPs can propose legislation. Only commissioners can propose legislation, the commission as a whole. The MEPs can only amend the legislation that's being proposed. The president of the European Union Parliament is essentially and effectively selected by the Commission. The commissioners are bureaucrats that are not elected by the people. There's no system of accountability except through the MEPs, who basically have no fucking power at all anyway. They are required to take an oath of office to the European Union, the gigantic state apparatus, as opposed to, and they're specifically said, I will not have allegiance to my own country, my own state. Has to be for the good of all of Europe. Oh, really? The good of all of Europe? If that doesn't include your own country, possibly there may be an issue. The commissioners are selected by all 28 governments collectively and then voted on by Parliament. But when they are being approved by the European Parliament, the president of the European Parliament, who is appointed by the Commission that was picked by these 28 states, has the ability to say, you can't vote no. There's literally an instance when they were approving a commissioner and they said, yays, please vote. Those abstaining, please vote. All right, he's approved. And one of the MEPs is like, when do we get to vote no? He's like, it's my privilege to say you don't get to vote no. This is fucking real. This is fucking real. These people, you people over in Europe, they're telling you how the fuck to live your life. When boiled down, the European Commission essentially acts like an oligarchy. The MEPs are essentially told how to vote because this is the way that the political dick is swinging. Those that are dissenting don't get a fucking voice. There's an instance where a number of UKIP MEPs were waiting for the fucking house to clear out so they actually had a chance to propose something. And when they were about to propose something, another MEP pulled a fire alarm so they could get all the other MEPs out of their offices and vote the fucking thing down. These people, who are the vast minority, have no fucking voice at all. Now you may be thinking, okay, so the commission runs it all. Not exactly. There's other people telling the commission what to propose. So who may these people be? Have you heard of the name Martin Selmayr? Martin Selmayr was a faceless bureaucrat for many years, basically known as the most influential bureaucrat in the world. He has only recently come out of the darkness and is now the Secretary General of the EU. He basically runs the fucking place. But there are a bunch of other faceless bureaucrats who kind of form this, I don't like using this word, but in a sense, a shadow government. Nobody knows who the fuck they are except for those who are connected. It's very rare that an MEP who wants to actually find out who the fuck they are gets to find out who they are, so good luck for you trying to figure that shit out. And they basically dictate their own interests in the interests of special interests. And I mean like the big scale best special interests, aka media conglomerates. Who would have fucking guessed? If you haven't guessed, yes, I am very much what in America we call a libertarian. Everywhere else in the world I would be called a liberal. This is specifically the reason why we are very cautious about having big, overarching, large governments. They are so prime for corruption, especially when they get into every little detail of your fucking life. The only people hurt by this legislation, and a lot of what the legislation of the EU does, is the common fucking man. And they say that they're protecting the common man. All they are doing is making sure that those who are established stay established. Yes, those who are established will take a big hit, but the little guys who are competing with them are done. They are knocked out of the market. They're priced out because of the penalties. Big guys can incur big penalties, and they'll eventually adjust because they don't have to compete with anyone else. The common man will never meet one of these faceless bureaucrats or any of the commissioners. Zero accountability. Do you think the common person was crying out for copyright reform? Honestly? The commission proposes this legislation is all pretty much determined ahead of time how these are going to go. It's gotten so bad to the point where the president of parliament doesn't even look up from the paper to count the votes. They just pass it through. The TLDR of all of this is the European Union is a fucking front for a bunch of gigantic statists who want to tell you how to live your life and make their buddies rich, and then they'll be rich by proxy. So Asshole Floss did not know what was in his amendment because he did not need to know. He is going to be taken care of because he did what he was supposed to do. He doesn't need to know anything about anything. He needs to go and vote the way he needs to vote and kiss the asses of the people that are going to get him reelected. That is it.
This just doesn't sound real.
Okay, this is I can't believe I didn't hear about this.
You didn't hear about this because the same large media companies that you consume content from are a part of these conglomerates that basically dictated this legislation. As I said before, it effectively eliminates their competition, which is new media. What really shocks me more than anything is the number of people who are so fucking unaware. There's so much of this information out there from credible sources that never gets broadcasted.
The previous version of the directive had support from publishers, major music labels, artists, newspapers, authors, and more. You even had a group of 165 filmmakers signing a declaration at the Venice Film Festival on Monday urging the European Parliament to pass this directive.
If you don't need more evidence that new media is the future, that it works, that it is threatening these large conglomerates, they are all in favor of killing the internet as you know it. Every one of them. They are all in favor of ending memes, not because they give a shit about memes. It is a casualty of war in order for them to have an extra $20,000 a year to buy one more fucking yacht.
The internet runs on this sort of like collective consciousness of let's repurpose imagery.
Yes, and that does have drawbacks. I completely agree with that. But it has done so much more good as far as evolving art and culture, as far as making people more informed, sometimes more misinformed, but Again, that's a casualty of it. But you give more opportunity to the good actors and the smart people to get out there and actually make something great. You give the opportunity for more people to be confronted with something that challenges their preconceptions. Not only that, you just give people more opportunity for more enjoyment, more entertainment. Article 13 kills that instantly.
It's coming in between freedom of speech and copyright. Because should you be liable for what you upload to Twitter? If I upload something to Twitter, is Twitter liable for what I upload, or am I liable for what I upload?
So this is the big debate that I was telling you about before. If Twitter is responsible for what everyone puts on their platform, that makes them legally liable, but that also makes them a publisher. If Twitter says, no, all of our users are individually responsible for what they post on our platform, that makes them a forum, basically a common place to meet and have an open discussion. Now, the really interesting thing is, a lot of these social media platforms are curating and censoring people to the point where you might think that they're actually publishers. A big thing that distinguishes a publisher from a forum says you can come and say anything you want. Nobody has to listen to you, but they can if they're interested. A publisher has a crucial element that is not in a forum, a gatekeeper. They determine who is allowed up there on the forum to speak, at which point it's no longer a forum, it is a curated platform. The more these social media companies participate in curation and censorship, the more they are making the case to everyone else and to the legal system that they are in fact publishers. They claim more and more responsibility for every additional person that they censor.
Some of my favorite musicians have come up in this way. Chance the Rapper is like a great example. So I'm a huge fan of this mentality, and I think it's really important, and I think that there's definitely a middle ground to find in terms of monetizing it.
At this point, he's referring to the openness of the internet. This is in response to a letter released by one of the higher-ups at YouTube. One of the higher-ups at YouTube who is very much against this legislation. As much as I hate copyright and I just want it gone, I agree there definitely can be some middle ground for this. Killing copyright instantly creates way too many short-term issues that could actually create a lot of chaos in the industry and possibly have an even worse backlash. I am more of a proponent of slowly over a long period of time ripping and pulling away at copyright and making it more open and free. Allow time for the technology and for humanity to catch up to the fact that we really don't need it.
So as a content creator yourself, do you think that the proposed law would affect your content?
Oh, I 100% think this would affect our content. We have a large, engaged audience in Europe.
While yes, this is true, that's not even the tip of the fucking iceberg, man. Social media companies who do not comply with these demands of having this entire section of your company dedicated to immediately pulling down videos and content that use any of the copyrighted works, they are given massive fines to essentially end their companies instantly. I make content in America. I can get away with fair use some of the time, thanks YouTube. If someone watches my video in Europe, who's responsible? YouTube is still responsible because I'm still using a copyrighted work and someone is watching it in Europe. That's still illegal under the EU. So they have to implement this worldwide because one fucking continent decided that they're a bunch of fucking assholes. Sorry, no offense to my European audience. I know you guys are not in favor of this. Hashtag not all Europeans. For one, it puts a huge burden on these social media companies to throw all of this manpower that, I mean, they're barely making it even as it is, some of them. But to throw all this manpower into ensuring that no copyrighted material gets out. But secondly, it completely stifles, well, everything I just fucking talked about. Most of the channels that you love, including this one, will die.
So sometimes people who hear about these types of laws and changes, they don't necessarily realize the full extent of it. So if a law like this ends up passing, what do you think could be the worst that could happen?
Overregulating the internet would destroy synergy and community building, which is one of the most beautiful and powerful and naturally forming things that occurs, really smart companies who want their brands to naturally develop and flourish and grow would encourage an open, free internet because it gives them the possibility to get tons of free marketing.
Once it happens in one area of the world, especially in Europe, it's gonna translate to the US, and you're gonna have US lawmakers thinking that it makes sense over here. It's every creator, big or small, it's every viewer who watches anything online. Like, it truly affects everyone.
I love both Rosanna and MatPat, and they're both very right. I would say this is the worst that is going to happen. What made the internet and social media great, the decentralization of expression and creativity, will now be re-centralized for exclusively the elite. The large media conglomerates, who were the old gatekeepers, are now reasserting themselves to be the new gatekeepers of the new media. Not only does this stifle creativity, but more importantly, it limits the flow of information. The less freely information flows, the more you can see control of it by those who control the flow. I think we can all agree that our large media conglomerates are semi-Orwellian. If this actually goes through the way that people are fearing it will, we could see a much more authoritarian and Orwellian media. Final thoughts. I worked my ass off to get this YouTube channel off the ground to the point where I could quit my day job. I took a leap of faith by quitting my job, and honestly, to this day, when I really think about it, I almost want to cry by the response that happened on Patreon when I did. I was seriously scared, and you guys, with that response, instantly took my fear away. Even now, with Article 13, I don't know that you're going to be able to see the videos that I upload. I honestly don't know what's going to happen with this channel. I have no idea. I could try maybe changing it so that there's a lot more quote-unquote original stuff. But honestly, my butthole is very clenched right now. I don't know what the future is of Become the Night. I don't know what it is. I would ask you guys to go be activists or whatever and go ask. It's a little too late. I guarantee there's some way of getting this repealed before it's fully implemented. I have no idea what that process is, and I haven't heard anyone talk about it at this time. Even beyond me and my hopes and dreams here, even beyond that, we're talking about one of the most prolific times for information. The most prolific time for information ever. And we're talking about the fact that that might be going away very soon. It might be so bad that you might even see websites like Wikipedia being shut down. Dead serious, Wikipedia may disappear. I'm sorry if I got overly preachy in this video, guys. This stuff really bothers me because one of my enormous passions is communications media. Music falls under that, and that's obviously my biggest passion. But how people communicate information and absorb information, and the medium through which we do that, or the media through which we do that, really is fascinating to me. And it's really been an awesome time to grow up as a media junkie and a media creator and a media consumer. So watching the potential of it dying right before my eyes is really freaky. Really, really freaky. Those are my thoughts. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, if you like the stuff that I do on this channel, please support me on Patreon. That is huge. This is my job. My ad revenue is fucking garbage. Patreon is the only way that this is my job. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Become the Night. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on!